You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
No. All right. How about now? How about now? How about now? How about now?
What's up, buddy?
What's up, Home Slice?
Oh, just like to record this, conversation with friends because it's been
Cool.
fun. I kind of like it. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to go somewhere.
Okay, cool.
Catching up with some peeps.
Cool.
How's it going? You've been busy.
Oh, God, I have been. I'm trying to actually, I don't know if you do this. You probably do. You do this. I take on too many things. I take on way too many things. And then it like sustains for a little bit. Like I have these bursts of like superhuman productivity and it's fine. And I think it's going to stay fine. And then I realize that it's not fine and I have to fix it because I just do too many things. So like I'll be able to maintain some shit for like 2 weeks to a month where like I'm just doing an ungodly amount of shit. And then I just crash and I'm like, I have to get rid of like at least 3 of these things because I'm going to lose my damn mind. I just can't keep this up. So like I've had like a handful of things that are just like projects that I don't get to because I'm doing too much shit. And then it generally always happens because of the clients, because that's always how it works. And the clients are like, hey, a thing. And I'm like, great, I'll take on the thing. And then this other thing and this other thing. And then now I haven't written my book yet. Things like that. So I'm good.
Correct.
I'm trying to like remodulate my shit because I didn't do a video this week yet. I haven't recorded. I just recorded a podcast today, but it's not going to go out this week. I haven't written a blog post, and I just posted a video about like how to create an immense amount of content. And then I crashed like immediately after that and was like, well, I'm taking a week off because working from home, snow day.
Yeah. Luckily for me, I'm like you. And luckily for me, I have a team behind me, which makes it so much easier.
It really does.
Although they're a little overwhelmed at the moment because it's a lot of stuff going on, obviously. But it's all the right stuff, right? At least I feel it's the right stuff. We still have 2 podcasts to go out every single week. One that goes out 5 times a week, one that goes weekly now. So yeah, our bigger podcast has been launched, so it's out there, which is cool.
What's the new one called?
It's called In the Ring with Sumo Heavy.
In the Ring. That's a brilliant name.
Well, I mean, why not? And it's that one is a long, huh?
Is the register totally like dead kaput? Did you get rid of all the episodes and everything?
We changed it up into this. And the biggest reason for that is because we wanted to do multiple ones, one for tech, one for interviews, one for things just interesting. So then we were like, well, that's a lot of production. That's a lot of things. So we just went into one, and that's the mixture. It's going to be some stuff from inside. It's going to be some stuff from outside, pundits, commentary, all that kind of stuff. So cool. Kind of like more of a radio show once a week, but we'll see how it works out. We like it. E-commerce Minute has changed a little bit. Obviously with these trying times, to be more, it's not about, it was like half our episodes are about Amazon, but we want to find good heartfelt story type things. So
yeah, well, I feel like now would be a really interesting time to explore like the explosion of e-commerce under quarantine, as well as like what are companies doing to deal with sanitary conditions of shipping and all their supply chain shit and keeping it safe there and hiring extra workers and then
all the distilleries trying to make sanitizer, like all those things, right? So there's a lot of those, which is great. And this just kind of popped in my head, and it's what I do. This is more of like catching up with friends and talking about what they do and how they do it. And well, that's the whole point, right? And I was like, well, let me record it, see what happens. And it's been interesting, which is good. So Jeff, tell us what you do.
Oh man. So I have a company called the Superhero Institute, which is a personal and professional development for small businesses, entrepreneurs, and freelancers. We go through basically how to #live your best life, but we go through things like how your business makes money, how you brand yourself, how you show up as a leader in your life, in your career, on your teams, how you build an amazing company culture, as well as marketing and sales, which is kind of more traditionally where my expertise lies. And then on top of that, basically I do the same thing, but for larger businesses as well. So like that's for the small business freelance entrepreneur. It's priced accordingly. It's set up accordingly. And then I work with medium and large companies to do the same sort of consulting, where we go through what I call deep consulting, where I kind of get myself really deep into the company and understand how they make money, why they make money that way, what their brand is about, and all the same sort of things that kind of overlap of those 6 things. And then I'm a professional speaker, a trainer. I'm working on those things. I got a talk called Becoming Superhuman. It's pretty dope. I really enjoy it. You saw the webinar of it. That was a version for marketers.
I did. I like it. I like that one. That was good.
Thanks. I'm going with the superhero. I'm all in on the superhero thing. I actually, I have a podcast called Shareable. I'm actually going to be pausing Shareable, putting it on hiatus for the moment so that I can focus my time and energy on Rogue. This is kind of at the beginning. We were talking about doing too many things. I realized I was never going to get to Rogue if I didn't pause Shareable, because everyone that comes on for a podcast, it's so easy to just jump on and chat and talk about stuff. Whereas Rogue is a lot more structured. It requires a lot more editing. So I wanted to really break down. Rogue is an allusion to the X-Men character Rogue, who can steal people's abilities through touch. So this podcast is about understanding people's superhuman abilities through conversation and really breaking down how you as a listener can learn how to do those things by way of listening to our conversation. And then finally, for the Superhero Institute, I curate and create a crap ton of resources that help that audience of small businesses, freelancers, entrepreneurs, whether it's learning how to pitch, learning how to be more productive and manage more tasks, or just have more joy in the work you do.
And ladies and gentlemen, Jeff doesn't drink coffee.
I made myself a beautiful pot of French press coffee this morning because I've been drinking. I have an espresso machine, and I do Cafe Bustelo as I fill my own little capsules of it. And it's been delightful, but the French press this morning was just, it was beautiful. I didn't get a lot of sleep.
Yeah, we happen not to be in an apartment right now, and I'm missing my pour over, but it is what it is. Just fine, Yeah. How are you seeing the world kind of surviving through this? Fun.
Honestly, I don't know. What I mean is I can think of 3 different scenarios, right? Like I can think of this is the Great Reset, which personally I would be totally fine with. Like you and I have talked about capitalism, communism, socialism, all the different isms together. And personally, I'm post-label. I just feel like let's talk about good ideas and choose the best things from each of them. But I think it's obvious that the system we currently have is not working in some ways. And I think that it's clear that other systems haven't worked in other ways. But we have a lot of brilliant people in this world. Like the fact that we can explore the galaxy and we can look at things at the atomic level, we can figure out an economic system that's more equitable, but also encourages innovation. So on the one hand, I think maybe this is the great moment where we rethink how everything's happening. And I think we do need, for that to really work, we need global cooperation, which I'm not super optimistic about. So that's one option. The other option is that once we're done with this, shit just goes completely back to normal, which I think is the most likely scenario. I think there's people who are just going to go right back to work and they're going to be like, how about that coronavirus thing? And they're not going to think about how shafted they got through this whole process. And then there's probably something that's somewhere in between where this shakes us up a little bit and sets us on a slow and steady course towards better or worse. Maybe 4 options.
You would hope it's better, right? My hope is from a different perspective, is that it happened in this time, meaning that there's a lot of technology working in it. People are doing a lot of good things. So, everybody's trying to push as fast as possible to get to a cure or something that helps. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of that. So technology, I still have faith in that.
I do too.
But also,
I would just say this: I feel like there's an element to that we should discuss, which is that after this happened, you probably saw it as much as anybody because you're part of the same scene as me. But everybody's oh, remote work and online courses and webinars and we can do this. And there's another thing that I think is happening, which is that I can't remember where I saw the tweet about this, but it was something along the lines of one of the biggest things that's going to come out of this is that people are going to realize that in all of this free time that they're going to wonder why the hell we've been working this hard in the first place. Working from home, no matter how hard you work, you eventually kind of hit a point where I'm going to finish a little early today, or maybe I'll have some wine with my 4 o'clock calls. And I think technology is going to enable us to have those options like we never did before, to work remotely and work
Hmm.
from home, do all these things. But there's still a cultural thing that's going to be lagging behind that we have to struggle with.
What I what I find it interesting is all the companies that are gonna tell people to come back,
Yeah.
like to actually work from office, right? I happen to like working from my office,
Yeah.
but we don't. It's not a requirement. Work from home if you need to. Like I've never. It's we've been built like a remote company. I happen to like being in the same room as my business partner at the same
Mhm.
time. We work better that way. We're faster that way. It's just it works for us. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like I think the a problem I'm having on both sides is like, no, you can't work from home, or you should always just work from home.
Mhm.
There's a problem with that. People work different ways, right? So that just I think is going to change. What I find it fascinating eventually is going to be that it's people going, nope, you all have to come back. And it's like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, we just spent through all this crap and still did it, but now we have to come back. How does that work?
I just feel like we need to start treating adults like adults. Like it's so like parental and condescending almost. Like and there, I'm not saying there's
Yeah,
not a
there's
value
a
to like being
yeah,
together in the same room. Like I love working in the same room with people. Like I totally get jazzed on the energy, but at the same time, like this idea that like as human beings we're not allowed to make our own decision about how to use our time is, I think that it's unfortunate because we're now expected to take our email home and our Twitter home and our Slack home and all that in our off
yeah.
hours.
So why? Right.
Why can't we take the beginning of our day to go to a doctor's appointment or have lunch with someone?
Yeah. So actually, today that we're talking on Friday, did you see that business not business insider? One of the articles was like, there's some bosses are all buying spyware to make sure people are working.
Oh,
Yeah, you didn't see this article yet? I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Like,
that
why?
honestly, that reminds me the same thing as like drug testing people for welfare. Like it's the same thing because there are just as many
Yeah.
people in Congress that are using drugs like on a percentage basis that could potentially be denied their salary as the same as welfare. And I'm not sure if that stat's correct, but the point being is that it's at all levels. If you were to drug test, you would probably come back with a percentage of people that would be ineligible for that reason. And in the same way, if these
Right.
bosses had spyware on their computer, you'd probably find that they're shopping and slacking off. They're not working 1,000 times harder than their lowest paid employee, probably.
Yeah, but the problem I have with that is that's the uptick. Like, first of all, you're not trusting your people. This is a stupid thing,
100%. Yeah.
right? Two, people will be less productive at home, especially if they have kids.
Yeah.
All the kids are home.
Yeah.
Everybody's home. Like, what are you doing? Like, that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah. It's
It's
just,
like it's
I
just a
wish what comes out of this is a little bit more of like a class consciousness, a little bit more of like a workers uniting sort of thing, because
yeah,
and like as a former business owner and now as like a solopreneur, I'm not opposed to the idea that like there are people who are going to make more money and be more successful. I'm not opposed to that, but like I do feel like there needs to be a little bit more of an equitable exchange of labor for value than we're currently seeing. And this
right.
whole like parental oversight, like you're not working hard enough stuff, like I feel like the workers should be like, you're not leading well enough, and there's more of us than there are of you, so like what are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same guys that walk around, the thing just to like making sure you're in by 9. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's like, what's the
no,
point of
that
that?
makes
I saw a guy that like was doing that, like shouting at people, like, you need to move out of your house by the time you're 20 and get some responsibility. And like, I made it so you can make it and you're going to level up and step up in your life. And I'm like, this is real life. Like, let's knock this crap off. Like, how about everybody has a different way that they're going to live their life? And it's totally fine, whichever that is. And they're entitled to have,
right.
a family, a roof over their head, some food, some health care. Like, that's what I'd like to see coming on the other side of this is like, isn't it just okay for everyone to have just a nice life? Like, and if that's the case, if everybody has like a roof over their head and food and this and that, then like let people at the top have as much as they want. But like, let's at least make it so that like people aren't freaking the hell out about, losing the ability to even cover their rent. Like we should be taking care of this.
The title of this one is Bosses Panic to Buy Spy Software to Keep Tabs on Workers. By the way, absolutely the greatest graphic ever. Hold on. I will post it's just my iPad. Hold on.
I saw a couple
Post it
articles
there.
on, I'm a part of like a number of different like very subversive subreddits, not like the real messed up shit, but like just some stuff that's
Yeah.
like, not anything. And there was an article or an Ask Reddit or something about this group of tenants that all got together and basically were just like, we're not paying our rent. Like there's a pandemic going on right now. Like we don't have the money for it. We're waiting for the government to pay us. We're not paying our rent. And the landlord was like, what the hell do I do here? I can't kick them all out. Nobody's looking to rent. So it was kind of an
Right.
interesting moment where it was like, there is a real power in numbers that I don't think people really think about.
Well, all of them are not paying rent, but like, but most of those, most of rental properties are not owned by huge corporations either. They can't
Yeah.
survive that.
Well, that's another one I saw. I saw a tweet that was basically like, people living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out how to pay a landlord who's paycheck to paycheck, who's basically working for a corporation that's basically paycheck to paycheck. The whole thing is in debt. This doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. So you don't have a feeling of where we're going to come out with this anyway. I mean, first of all, I don't think anybody knows where it is.
Yeah.
It's just all guesses. I'm sorry, but it just is.
Yeah,
Everybody's
no, it
trying
absolutely
to
is.
figure it out.
And like, I think also it really depends on the situation you're in. Like, I'm very fortunate that right now I have maintained all of my clients. I have a consistent and relatively steady stream of income coming in. I don't know what'll happen, in a few months from now if this continues on or gets worse. But for right now, I'm in a position where I don't feel, an enormous amount of pressure. So I have the luxury of being a little bit more optimistic that we're going to pull through this. But I also can look out at the landscape and recognize like we're in a full state of chaos. But because I don't feel it directly, I only feel it kind of via empathy for others that are going through it. Like my perspective is skewed on it a little bit. But in terms of like, do we come out the other side and just kind of restart? I mean, it's hard to say. We're in like totally unprecedented landscape right now. So it's like, it's funny to watch some people like market themselves, like talking about how to like manage crisis. I'm like, what crisis have you managed like this? That's even like close, right? Like 9/11 was like an absolute like awful moment in all of our lives that changed how everything went. But at that point I was 21, and even seeing like people kind of retreat, it wasn't like you couldn't go out and go places. It wasn't like you couldn't, like, there was a period of time where people were reluctant and they saw the recession was coming, but like, it wasn't like everything shut down. Like you couldn't eat at a restaurant because it was only takeout or delivery. Like everything here is totally different right now. And the fact that there's people saying that this isn't the only one that's going to happen. Like these type of COVID viruses are going to continue, and in some cases potentially get worse or mutate or whatever it is. Like we have to think about like, how do we build a society that's able to bounce back from something like this? Because right now it looks like our markets are essentially not equipped to deal with this kind of a thing. Like they're talking about sending people back to work just so that the economy survives. It's like, wait, I thought capitalism was like impervious to any sort of thing, like the free market, right? No, like we're donezo at this moment if we don't pump, trillions of dollars into it.
Yeah, and that's one of the silliest statements ever, because it will have a bigger crash than this. So just a thought.
So I mean, I wouldn't say I'm optimistic, but I'm hopeful because I really like my life. I really like my wife. I really like this kid that's on the way. I haven't even met her yet, but I think she's going to be cool. I like this house I live in. Like I worked really hard to get to a point where like I have like this, really dope lifestyle. I'm not like wealthy, I'm not like, rolling it where I could be like doling out, bills to everyone that needs help. But like, I'm just getting to a point where I feel like I can start to get some stability under me, and like this happens. And that's just, it's unfortunate,
Yeah, I think everybody had that moment. It's like I think people just got slapped hard 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, like really, really hard, right? And everybody's like, what now?
Yeah.
We went from like this high to like.
Yeah, well, even the high in the past several years has been tempered with just a constant fear and dread, and like the world's half on fire in some ways, but like we're still here, so I guess it's fine. It's like that weird, like, are we in a different timeline? Did something really awful happen? But like, it's weird because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are really suffering through this. And like, there's a lot of people that like these market conditions have really impacted. But because I have
Mhm.
no money in the market, it's difficult for me to see it. But I'll tell you one thing that did happen for me is that I think you and I have talked about what's up with my mom. So like my mom had
Yeah.
a brain injury. She's in a nursing home. She's in like not a really good state. She's not able to talk. She's just kind of in the waiting room to a certain extent. And
Yeah.
but like her whole life, and she's youngish, she's like 66 or something, and her life right now, all of her housing at this nursing home and all that food and everything she needs is paid for by a settlement she got from her accident in 1998. So like
Yeah.
it wasn't like she was wealthy, but she had a settlement to help cover her life. And like we're towards the tail end of it. And I looked at her account like yesterday or the night before, and like, it took like a 20% hit, which basically knocked off like 3 years of her financial life, basically. Like
Yeah.
immediate, like 3 years. Like she has enough money to
In one
basically
shot.
survive for like
Yeah.
6 more years, basically. And now she's down to like 4.
Yeah. I mean, we used to lucky out for our parents are alive, but they all took a hit.
Yeah.
And they're all about to retire.
Yeah. Like she
In the
lost
next
more
3
money
years.
than I've ever had in my life in a bank account. Like she lost that. And it was just
Mhm.
like, wow, okay. So there are people, and like, again, like I look at my mom's financial situation, I think there's a lot of people that probably worked for like 60 years, 70 years or whatever. Like they're in their, retirement years, and they
Mhm.
have money stashed away, and that's what they live on. Right. And that account probably just got decimated in the last 3 months. And
My
that's
parents.
terrifying. Yeah. It's terrifying. Right. Like, I don't know how they deal with
Yeah.
it. That kind of stress would make me lose my damn mind.
Mhm.
It's not even like you can do
Mhm.
the thing that you used to be able to do, which is like, if you had that money, you could just move to Thailand and live like a king. But like, no, you can't even go anywhere right now. And everywhere has the same virus that you're running away from here. So like, what do you do?
It's very unpredictable. Just yeah, it's a time.
Yeah.
It's something. Yeah.
How are you holding up in like the, uh, as an extrovert like me, how are you holding up with being like locked away? Because I've been locked away for like three weeks now. I've gone to a grocery store twice. I picked up a pizza last night, and that is like my full contact with human beings, other than through a screen.
Well, we work and live in basically what is almost like a New York apartment. It's a studio. So that's where we are right now, which is so much fun. Um, Actually, we were having fun. My wife and I always said we can't work together. We actually work really well together in one room.
Huh.
So being extroverted, why do you think I do this?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fixes it for me.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, it's talking to your team. So for me, it hasn't been actually that crazy. The weird part is, and I don't know, maybe this was like a real weird omen. End of last year, we decided not to go to any big conferences at all, and all like a weird predictor, and then we didn't. My last trip was to South Carolina a few weeks ago, and that was it. And I came back, and basically we've been here. Which this whole thing helps, talking to your team most of the day, catching up, but still doing work. It's fine. I'm okay with this for the moment.
I like it in the sense that like I feel like I'm very productive not having to travel to and from meetings. So working from home has been much more productive, and I have back to back Zooms every day, basically. So I do get a lot of contact that way. I do miss actually interacting with people in like a real life setting. And also I need to get outside and have more fresh air than I currently do. One thing that I have found that was super helpful is my friend Tim and I have been playing more video games online. So we play and then we call each other, and we have like the 4 of us, and we shoot zombies and that sort of thing. It's almost like being in the same place at the same time, but your like focus is somewhere else. So they could very well be next to you, but you're focused on the game anyway. So that's been a little bit helpful.
Yeah, I don't play games, so I got nothing.
Yeah,
We're just being, cooking more and being home and
cooking,
kind of just enjoying it. Yeah, taking walks every day, which is good.
I'm just glued.
We do it.
Smart.
Yeah, we need to get out. It's more of, as long as it's nice outside, we're out. And the beauty of around here, there's no one here. Like literally, it's empty, which is nice.
Yeah.
So
we have the waterfront behind us, so like we're right on the Delaware, and
mhm.
we'll go out for walks and go up and down the Delaware. And like there's people running and stuff like that, which I hate how close they get to me. I'm like, you need to be 6 feet away.
So the fun part is down here, people are very respectful of that. So it could be like literally on the walk we see 3 people, but everybody's like, "Oh, we'll move to the street." You know what I mean? No, literally. Oh yeah, very respectful about
I've
that. But
seen
there's
some
just not
people
a
do
lot of
that
people,
here, but like there are other people that like get these sweaty runners that are breathing all over the place, and they like run way.
which is the worst. That's actually the worst part of it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
which is annoying. But
it is annoying,
you can do it.
but what are you gonna do? So, all right, Jeff, I have the last question for you. What are you currently obsessed with?
Am I currently obsessed with? Oh man.
Could be literally anything. It doesn't matter what.
Yeah, no, I want to answer your question seriously because like I have a bunch of stuff that I'm like really into. I've been into for a while, but like, what am I currently obsessed with? I have like a really good feeling that I know what it is. I mean, honestly, I think probably the thing I'm most obsessed with is right now um, is taking better book notes. Like, so I read a lot and I listen to a lot of audio
Ooh.
notes, and I found this guy named Samuel Thomas Davies, and he's got this website where he basically shares his book notes from like hundreds of nonfiction books that he's read, and his book notes are amazing. And I
Who
saw
is
that,
it? I'm
and I was
sorry.
Samuel Thomas Davies, I think is his name. Um,
What's his name? The guy who did the Stoic stuff. Ryan.
Mark,
Ryan writes
oh, Ryan
awesome ones
Holiday.
too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this guy, Samuel Thomas Davies, so basically what he did is he created what I wanted the books part of the Superhero Institute to be, but he did it like
Uh-huh.
last May. So he's just ahead of me on that. And he takes really, really good book notes. And I love to read, and I like to have good notes from them, but I don't take particularly good notes. So I'm working really, really hard on taking better notes as I read, so that I can then go back and have that as a like thing to go back to. Like I have maybe 3 books that I have like dynamite notes on. Like so, Pitch Anything would be one of them, and then there's like a couple others, maybe like Influence and maybe
Hmm.
like How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? So like handful of my favorite books, but like there's all these other books that I absolutely love that I just don't have any notes on. I have like a 3-sentence thing I could tell you about it. But the way this guy does it is like the book in a sentence, three, like I think like top 3 points or something, and then like it goes into all this other stuff. It's a great format. So I'm obsessed right now with I'm totally obsessed with books, but specifically with reading the books and taking great notes about them.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. My problem is just where and how, right? I'm a big, love my Kindle and
Yep.
love audiobooks, and the problem is like, how do you do that? With Kindle, I have figured out how to do it pretty well.
Do you use the
Because you can
notes,
highlight it.
the highlights and
I use
notes?
the notes and highlight it, but then you actually use clippings.io to pull them out, and they can put them into Evernote or anything else. So
There's
that's cool.
another. There's actually on the Samuel Thomas Davies site. He has another one that's a link directly to your Amazon where you can pull all that stuff out. But for Audible, can you
You,
do that for Audible?
I'm not sure. I think you can
Because I have
bookmark
so
stuff,
many
but
notes in my Audible. Like every time I have something, I pause it and I do the little clip and I do like a little note, and that's been really, really helpful. So I have tons of notes that are stashed away on my Kindle and on my Audible, but like I have to now go in and pull them out. So I need a VA actually.
yeah, the clippings kind of liked because it pulls it out, and I think it categorizes it. I have done it in a while. Pings.
I'm gonna have to add that to my list of
Uh,
tools. Clippings.
live googling, live googling. uh, yeah, it organizes your highlights and stuff like that, and it pulls it automatically. So I think there is a way to do it really well. Oh yeah, you can. So yeah, you can upload the clippings thing from Kindle, but it organizes it better. I believe that's why I wanted to play with it. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I've always had a problem to figure out where to do it. Obviously in a physical book, but I mean, I guess read more physical books. I just don't like wasting paper. I know they're
Yeah.
already printed, and just having things, you
Yeah.
know.
Minimal. If I can carry it in this thing, then I want to carry everything in that thing.
Well, the beauty of all the Amazon stuff is that if you have a Kindle book and then have the companion audiobook, you can go back and forth
Yeah.
all the time, which is great. Or if you used to travel a lot, just kind of like, oh, I just pick up my phone and read there, or on Kindle, you go back and forth, which is, I think that's always been why I liked it so much.
You know, Audible is having a sale right today. I spent like $50 on books today because they're doing like it's like a little over under $7, like $6 to $7 per book, and it's all these nonfiction titles, and all I read is nonfiction. So I just bought like 7 or 8 books.
That's cool.
Yeah, I have a major obsession with books over the last like 2 years, I would say, which I wish that I developed that obsession like 20 years ago, but what can you do?
Right. Yeah, it pulls all your stuff in, and then you can categorize it, add a note, tag it. There's a whole bunch of other things you can do it. So it's a good publish. Anyway, sorry. We just went there. All right, Jeff, stay on for a second. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man, it was fun. Good idea. I like this. This is smart.
Yeah, it's fun. It is definitely fun.